I am not done with DMC, so let's give Dante some TLC with a race and a fighter subclass. Dante, the Wacky Woohoo Pizza Man of Devil May Cry, the son of Sparta, wielder and personification of his father's demonic rebellion, and self-stabbing enthusiast. Seriously, I bet he likes it on some level. So what have we got here today? How about a race? How about a fighter? How about a subclass? Welcome to my wife is DMC. I'm DMV and you're watching Husbando Homebrew, a show where we take something cool from pop culture and turn it into fun D&D homebrew. If this is your first time here, I create D&D homebrew based on a source material story element, design it with game flow and ease of use in mind, then apologize to other DMs for making something that topples their sense of balance. And with that, let's ride a missile and woohoo our way to D&D Dante. Part 1. The Half-Breed. If you're not aware, this is the second in a series of Devil May Cry inspired homebrew. In the last video, we explored a homebrew for DMC Nero which covers the Demon Blood race. For Dante, he'll take the same race. As a quick review, the Demon Blood race grants a +1 to Constitution and Charisma. We don't know how old they'll get, alignment runs the chaotic gamut, they're medium-sized, and they have a speed of 30 feet. They have a reskin of the Halfling's Brave trait, the Superb Resilience trait that helps them die less, and of course, a sub-race.
He's alive! He's alive!
For Dante, we've got the Half-Breed sub-race. Dante said it himself that even as a child he had powers, and considering all the people, demons who hate his demon dad, it's pretty clear that he's got some unique heritage in his veins. So first, ASI. He's got a +1 Constitution. Since he gets stabbed a lot, it makes sense that he can casually walk away from it. That +1 to Strength or Dexterity represents his higher physicality compared to the regular tired millennial. Healing Factor. It's not what you think. Kinda. It's a once per day ability that prevents you from going down. Much like Superb Resilience, this just keeps you in the fight longer, and allows you to casually walk to the jukebox with several stab wounds in your small intestines. Reckless Defense is, well, Dante's reckless behavior. It's an unarmored defense trait to justify wearing just a coat and nothing else on what looks to be a cold evening while still being able to recite poetry with a bee demon. It's 12 plus Constitution plus Proficiency, because Dante's quote-unquote defense is a little less dodging and a little more just taking it, really. At least if you suck at playing like a certain Husbando. Okay, so here it is, the big one. Devil Trigger, level 5. It's quite a bit similar to Manifest Power from the previous video, but let's pick it apart anyway. Much like the game, this is a state that you can turn on and off, granting yourself a great boost in power and speed, prevents you from flinching, and a host of other stuff. For our homebrew, it grants a 5-foot speed boost, a flying speed that's a thing in the games that rarely if ever comes up, added demon damage, radiant or necrotic, equal to your proficiency bonus, and an actual healing factor that regains HP, equal to your constitution modifier at the start of each of your turns. Fighters hate me. This is done via the DT mechanic, which is a resource equal to your charisma modifier plus your proficiency bonus. You expend 1 DT when you transform, and expend it again at the start of each of your turns. You might also notice that this transformation requires an attuned magical weapon. This is because I've never actually seen Dante transform without it, so I figure half-breeds like him require a catalyst to help them bring out all that demon power within them. You see this as early as the first DMC game, but it's most prominent in Devil May Cry 3, where Dante's Devil Trigger forms have small differences depending on the weapon you're using. Granted, Capcom ditched this in DMC 4 and 5 in favor of a more standardized look. Now that we've got the crux of Dante's DNA, let's take a gander on his actual fighting style with the fighter archetype, Stylish Rancor. Yeah! Part 2. The Stylish Rancor. Devil May Cry, from the very beginning, was all about style. And nobody in the franchise does it better than its poster boy, Dante. So for this homebrew, I present the fighter archetype, the Stylish Rancor. This archetype is my attempt at emulating the flashy moves of Dante's different styles and implementing something of a combo system. The very backbone of DMC, the one game that really put the character action games on the map, is all about being flashy. So when you take the subclass, you gain proficiency in the performance skill. Up next is styles, and this is the big one, and really front loads the archetype. I use the Battle Master as a template for this archetype, so think of the following features properties from that perspective. Sound good? Good. So first is that you have actual styles. These are like stances that you can switch between, each of which grants some passive benefits. Now, the games don't actually have this, but I wanted something reliable and constant for the subclass because later on, you'll find a bunch of stuff that uses a resource. First style is Sword Master. Focuses on melee weapon combat and allows you to make one additional melee weapon attack as a bonus action if you roll a 15 or higher with one of your attacks when you took the attack action. This is similar to DMC's timing-based combo system, where you can unleash different combos by pausing and timing your attacks correctly. Bonus points if you use a bonus action to stab yourself. Second style is Gunslinger. Some magic comes into play here as you gain infinite ammo as a perk. Also, you can use two-weapon fighting with ranged weapons, so if you want to focus on this style, don't take the crossbow expert feat. By the way, it blew my mind when I first found out that DMC doesn't have any ammo tracking. I thought it was a crazy cool idea and was kinda jarring since the original game still had vestiges of its Resident Evil roots in full display. Next is Trickster! While the original games had Trickster for some really flashy moves, I opted to have this one give a slight movement speed increase, but more importantly, increases the height from which you take fall damage. This style really shines better when you get to see the style moves later on. It was admittedly hard not to give this one more abilities, since Trickster was my favorite style. Last but not least, Royal Guard! The one style I was too terrible to get good at. For D&D, however, you go into a defensive stance as a reaction to reduce damage from attacks equal to your proficiency bonus. This style accumulates a form of energy called RG, which you gain whenever you reduce damage. RG is used for different style moves, and admittedly, it's rather complicated since the style moves of Royal Guard uses 2 layers of resources. I'll get to that in a bit, but to be fair, the games also had the RG thing. Now with that out of the way, this hyper front-loaded subclass feature allows for other things. You can style switch for free and as a bonus action on your turn. Then we got the style moves. These are the different style moves that you can do under each style. This one is a resource, much like the Battle Master Superiority where it recharges on a short or long rest. You can use these style moves a number of times equal to your Charisma mod plus your proficiency bonus. Now, limited style moves is not a thing in the games, but this is where I need to draw the line for balance. Later on, I'll showcase some of the style moves you can take, and hopefully you'll see why this needed balancing. Remember buying this stuff with red orbs? Well, there's none of that in D&D, at least not in my version of the homebrew. Instead, you know one style for each style move when you take this archetype, and then you learn 2 additional style moves from any style of your choice at 7th, 10th, and 15th level, like the Battle Master. Unlike the Battle Master, some style moves have a level requirement because this archetype is a balancing nightmare. Finally, this archetype can force saving throws, and it's 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your strength or dexterity. Admittedly, I wanted this to be charisma, but that would be a mad nightmare for a fighter's growth. If you're not familiar, MAD is multi-attribute distribution. You want to be sad, not mad. Have I mentioned that we've only covered 3rd level features? I'll go through the other features in a bit, but for now, I'll go ahead and show you more style moves in Part 3, the style moves. Similar to the Battle Master, I made several maneuver-like abilities to the stylish ranker called style moves. There are about 28 style moves spread out across 4 different styles, so I'll give a few highlights. Unfortunately, you can only learn a maximum of 10 style moves. I do this because, as Jeremy Crawford once said, limitations make for interesting choices. This also puts you in a position to focus down on a particular style or spread out your style moves equally. So instead of reading out what possible things you can do, I decided to show you instead. Let's start with the Sword Master. High time! Add a d8 to the damage and the target makes a saving throw. You can choose to make a standing high jump immediately after the attack. Great for style moves that need you to be in midair. Stinger! Start from at most 15 feet away. On a hit, deal additional damage equal to 1d8 and add your proficiency bonus for every 5 feet of distance covered. Aerial Rave. Make a free attack if you and your target are both in midair. Next, let's look at a few ones from Gunslinger. Twosome Time! When you make an attack while holding a light ranged weapon in each hand, you can choose to attack 2 targets at the same time. Mega Cascade! You'll need 2 ranged weapons with a heavy property for this one. Instead of making an attack, targets make dex saves. You'll gain access to it much later on though. Charge Shot, an early style move, deals additional damage equal to your proficiency bonus. Again, there are quite a few more style moves, which you can find in the linked document. Next up, let's look at Trickster. Mustang. Run forward at a creature, then use it as your woohoo springboard. Great for setting up style moves that require being in midair. Trickster Dash. Not as good as an actual dash, so as to respect the rogues, but certainly gets you out of sticky situations in a pinch. Trickster moves are geared more towards mobility and positioning. On the flip side, Royal Guard is geared towards more staying put and taking it like a champ. Royal Block helps build up RG and take no damage in the process. Of course, this uses your reaction. Release! Use up all that built up RG and hit the enemy hard. Again, these are just a few highlights for each style. There are quite a few other style moves that you'll find in the document link below. We're almost at the finish. Let's look at the other subclass features with Part 4. Other subclass features. Have I mentioned that we only covered 3rd level features? Yeah, this gets pretty front-loaded. So, at 7th level, you can switch weapons around as if you were pressing a directional button. 10th level, you get Smokin', where you can use 2 style moves at a time in one turn. This is where all those mid-air moves come in. 15th level incentivizes style usage and use style switching, because I can't do that level of play without making my nerves bulge. Gain advantage on your next attack roll or saving throw by being cool. Smokin' Sexy Style. At level 18, you regain 1 use of your style move whenever you gain advantage on your attack or saving throw, which means your DM will regret using the optional flanking rules. Ah, who are we kidding? I bet they regretted using flanking way before you reached 18th level. Part 5. Next steps. Hey there, good to see you. Before you go do something cool like playtest this homebrew, make sure you check out the Ko-Fi link in the description box to find the actual document. Hopefully this video was entertaining, and if it was, I'd appreciate it if you left a like. Do let me know what you think about the video, the subrace, or the subclass, or just stop by and say hi. I promise to say hi back. Check out our socials and subscribe to keep yourself up to date with our content. Thank you for being here, and good job on making it to the end. This has been My Wife is the MC. I'm DMV, and I'll see you in the next Husbando Homebrew. I remember when I was about 13 or 14, the PS2 was making waves already. But alas, I was with the old reliable PS1. I was mostly okay with being behind, but it was Devil May Cry that really made me want that black console. I first saw the game on display in a video game shop. My country's equivalent of a GameStop, but shittier. It was on demo mode, basically the game showing gameplay footage similar to a trailer. Not even sure if modern games do that nowadays, where you let it stick in the start menu. Typically, in games back in the day, they would play actual gameplay footage. And I was hooked. The graphics at the time were incredible compared to the 3D blocks of the original PlayStation. But aside from that, the gameplay really got to me. Seeing Dante juggle enemies in the air, dodging left and right, and really just being a really cool guy with white hair outside of anime, which by the way was quite niche at the time. It just hit different. And I felt the FOMO hard. It was what motivated me to get good grades, just so I could convince my parents to get me a PS2. I even painted my old PS1 in black marker pen just to make myself feel better. Those were some good times. I miss it.